Now that's what I mean.
What do you mean?
Oh, to me, language is like music. That melody can be simple. But you played it with all the extra notes and accompaniment.
Well, it expresses more. It sounds more colorful.
Right. My point exactly. To do the same thing in writing, we use extra words, adjectives, and adverbs to express more meaning. Adjectives used to modify nouns and pronouns. Adverbs used to modify verbs. How long have you played the piano, Sonia?
Oh, I've always been able to play good. Well, just like you can write good.
Well.
Well, what?
You don't play good.
I play better than you do.
Of course you do. What I mean is, you play well, not good. Play is a verb. To describe and modify a verb, you need the adverb well, not the adjective good.
Oh.
Adjectives describe nouns or pronouns, persons, places, things. Adverbs describe verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs.
Then I played a good song?
Right. You played it well.
Ah.
Where did you learn to play that well?
Oh, my mother. She was so beautiful and talented. She taught piano students at her house. And I remember I could hear them whenever I was upstairs in my room or outside playing.
See how you're using words like beautiful and talented to describe your mother?
I have such strong memories. There was Peter. He didn't play so good. I mean, so well. But he was so, well-looking.
Good-looking.
Good-looking and handsome.
Yeah, and I have to get back to work.
And he had deep blue eyes. You could almost swim in them. And he could dance so divinely.
Rarely at a loss for modifiers, that girl. I just hope she isn't getting homesick. You know, we wouldn't want to lose her. She adds color to a dull writer's existence. Just as words such as adjectives and adverbs can add color to your writing. Now, what I want to communicate in this chapter is that you mustn't confuse the two kinds of modifiers. Now, as I told Sonia, the word good is an adjective. Use that to describe or modify nouns or pronouns. The word well is an adverb and describes an action. For instance, look at this sentence. We ate good or well because the dinner was good or well. In the first part, what are we describing? The act of eating, right? So in that phrase, we should say, we ate well. But next, what are we describing? The dinner, right? And since we always describe nouns with adjectives, and dinner is a noun, we use good. We ate well because the dinner was good. Now, just to make sure you understand the difference between good and well, try the exercises in your workbook. Like my piano playing. Take some practice before it comes naturally.
Gosh, our song for the talent show really sounds good.
Sounds well, Freddie. You should use the adverb well to describe verbs.
Actually, Sonia, Freddie was right.
But Arthur said that you
He probably told you to use good to describe nouns and pronouns and well to describe verbs, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's generally true unless you're using a linking verb like these. Looks, feels, tastes, smells, sounds, sings. Verbs like these sometimes link a noun with a modifier that describes it. So you use the adjective good instead of the adverb well.
Ah, I see. Like this? Our costumes look good.
Right. And look at this sentence. That seafood looks good. Good describes the seafood. It is good seafood.
Uh-huh. So would you say that seafood is prepared well?
Right.
Okay, then you would say that our musical selection sounds good because we have many well-rehearsed songs.
Well-rehearsed songs.
You see, good describes the songs, but well describes how they were rehearsed.
That remains to be seen.
All right, Freddie, we'll try it again. Stand up straight, please. All right. On me. And?
Me, 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 me.
Again, and this time on O. And?
Oh, 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 oh.
Oh, I am not well.
No, Arthur. Mrs. Johnson told us today that if you are using linking verbs like am, are, or is, you have to use the adjective good.
She was right. But there is another kind of well. This one's an adjective, and it means the opposite of sick. Like your song makes me feel. I am not well.
And he doesn't feel good.
Right, because feels links the subject he with its adjective. Good.
If our performance is to be any good, Freddie, you'd better get back to work, all right? Again, on me.
Me, 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 me.
Let's take a break and look at the music, okay?
Thank goodness. As you can see, there are some complications to the correct use of good and well. But just remember to analyze the sentence in your mind. What are you describing? The action, the subject of that action, or the opposite of sick? The best way to tell whether you need an adjective or an adverb is to see how the word functions in the sentence. Now, as I've already said, adjectives describe nouns and pronouns. For instance, faithful, sad, loyal. He is faithful. His wife feels sad. They are a loyal crew. In each case, the word describes a subject pronoun, not an action. But what if you were describing an action? He acts faithfully. She plays the piano very sadly. They fought for us very loyally. Faithfully describes how he acts. Sadly describes how she plays. And loyally describes how they fought. Remember, when you're analyzing a sentence, how something is being done should make you think adverb. Adverbs are often formed by adding ly to an adjective. In these next sentences, I want you to decide for yourself whether the descriptive modifier should be an adjective or an adverb. Is it referring to how an action is completed, or is it describing a noun? Jim writes feature stories clever or cleverly. George spoke proud or proudly of his son. His plans seem appropriate or appropriately to us. In the first two sentences, you should have picked the ly form because the modifier describes the verb. Jim writes feature stories cleverly. George spoke proudly of his son. But in the third sentence, the modifier is linked to the noun plans by seem. So it's an adjective. His plans seem appropriate to us. Remember, how is the key word to deciding whether to use an adjective or an adverb. If your modifier is describing how an action is performed, then it's an adverb. And when you're linking verbs like seem, feel, look, smell, or taste, remember that the modifier may be describing the noun in the subject, and it should be an adjective.
Okay, Sonia. I think I got the note now.
Oh, you have the note?
Yeah.
All right, I'll sing with you on me, all right?
All right.
Me, 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 me.
Oh, my.
How's that invitation coming?
Come to the talent show Friday night at 7:30 in the cafeteria. How's that?
Pretty dull and colorless, I'd say.
Good. Maybe nobody will come. I don't think Freddie will ever hit that high note.
No. You know, we do this for a good cause. So put a little life into your writing so people will want to come. Jazz it up.
I love the way you jazz that up. You do wonders with a simple tune.
Thanks.
I think I got the melody down.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I think you and Freddie must have gone to the same conservatory of music. Oh, I dread Friday night. But I guess we have to go through with it.
You got your invitations written?
Mm-hmm. Here.
Oh, come on. Let's go work on them.
At first, I thought it was going to be too short, but I lengthened it, so I think it'll be all right.
All right. Oh, let's see.
This is what I have so far.
All employees, come to a thrilling performance featuring some of your talented co-workers who have rehearsed careful and diligent. The show will begin prompt at 7:30 p.m. and run continuous until 9. Well, your adjectives are right.
Good.
Thrilling performance, talented co-workers. But your adverbs aren't. What are the words careful and diligent describing?
How we rehearsed.
There's that word, how. Your co-workers may be careful and diligent, but they rehearsed carefully and diligently. Then, in the next sentence...
Well, prompt doesn't tell how it will begin.
No, it tells when. And adverbs also tell when.
So, we'll begin promptly and run continuously because it tells how it will run, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh, I have to run. Freddie and I have dress rehearsal.
Oh.
La! Oh, no. I'm real late.
Very late, Sonia. Now, there's some other modifiers to consider. For one thing, never confuse real with very. Look at this common error. Sonia will be real late. Sonia will be very late. Real is an adjective that means actual, true, or authentic. Real must not be used like very to mean extremely. This sentence should be, Sonia will be very late. Now, here is a correct example of real. The painting was a real Rembrandt. Real here means authentic. Another pair of modifiers people tend to confuse are fewer and less. For instance, there are fewer good movies this year. But this car has given us less trouble. In the first sentence, fewer correctly modifies a noun that can be counted by number, movies. But in the second sentence, notice that less makes a different kind of distinction, one of quantity or degree, less trouble. I take fewer pills than I did before. I need less medication. See the difference? I can count pills, but not medication. Exactly the same difference exists between many and much. Many refers to what can be counted, much to an uncountable quantity. I take many pills. I need much medication. I want to warn you against the double negative. A double negative equals a positive. If you write, I can't get no answer, what you're actually saying is, I can get an answer. The sentence should be, I can't get any answer, or I can get no answer. It's the same with negative words, hardly, barely, and scarcely. For instance, he wasn't making hardly any money. That should be, he was making hardly any money. Just make sure your negatives don't cancel each other out. Oh, coming. Okay, Freddie and Sonia, I was just talking about double negatives.
Very funny.
Hi, Arthur.
Arthur, guess what? We have some good news.
Yeah, we finally found a song that I can sing without any high notes. I can't get no
Satisfaction.
Stop it! Now, you know, two negatives make a positive. Either one cannot get any satisfaction, or one can get no satisfaction. Please.
Oh, brother.
I'm not going to go in front of all those people and sing, I cannot get any satisfaction. Will you come on, Sonia, and hurry up? We're almost on.
I can't go out there looking like this. I feel ridiculous.
Not as ridiculous as you look.
Oh, anyway, you're one to talk. Mrs. Johnson, doesn't Freddie look sillier?
I don't know, Sonia. It's not really fair to make a comparison. But I do know that when you're comparing two things, then you should use sillier, not silliest.
Well, when would you use silliest?
When you have more than two things to compare.
Oh, would you come on, Sonia? We've only got about 30 seconds.
Then of the three of us, you are the luckiest because you don't have to go out there and make people think that you're the foolishest person they ever saw.
Most foolish.
If everything in life were you wouldn't need comparative words. There's always someone taller than you, someone wittier, more musical. Notice that comparative words end in an R sound. More, better, taller. Superlatives are used when you're comparing more than two things. Most, best, tallest. They end on an ST sound. What's wrong with this sentence? Do you like breakfast or lunch most? Because we're comparing only two things, we should use more. Do you like breakfast or lunch? More. However, you would use most in this sentence. Do you like breakfast, lunch, or dinner most? Because we are comparing more than two meals. She was more clumsier than her sister. If the sentence already has a word ending in ER or EST, never use more or most with it. This sentence should be, she was clumsier than her sister. Or you could say, she was more clumsy than her sister. Whether to add ER or EST, or to use more or most, depends on the word. And you can usually tell by saying a word to yourself. Now, would you say, the work was difficulter than I predicted? Of course not. You would say, the work was more difficult than I predicted, right? A good rule of thumb is that ER and EST can be added to 1- and 2-syllable words. For instance, dark, darker, darkest. But for all 3-syllable words, some 2-syllable words, and all adverbs ending in ly, use more or most. For instance, cowardly, more cowardly, most cowardly. Fantastic, more fantastic, most fantastic. And trust your instincts. Wouldn't fantasticer sound pretty funny? You can practice using comparatives and superlatives in your workbook.
Well, Sonia, what are you writing?
Oh, well, one of the clerks drafted a review of the talent show, and so I'm trying to polish off her copy.
You mean polish up.
Oh. Yes, well, whatever. But I don't care for her writing much. Listen to what she said about us. I just typed it into the program. Their duet of a Rolling Stones classic brought pain to this listener's ears.
Oh, dear. The writer misused the possessive.
What do you mean?
Is the Rolling Stones singular or plural?
Plural. But there's a drummer and a lead singer, and their name, the Rolling Stones, ends in S.
In the possessive case, the apostrophe comes after the S.
Oh.
That's right. Do you see a similar problem anywhere else in the sentence?
Well, listeners has the apostrophe after the S.
Yes, but she said this listener, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that imply just one?
Ah, yes, so the apostrophe should come before the S.
Good, Sonia. You know, your writing seems to be coming along a lot better than your singing.
Hey, it's not my fault Freddie finally hit his high note in the wrong song. But I'm going to write something better for this reviewer.
It's enough to make you give up music. Now, possessives are a special kind of modifier because you have to spell them with apostrophes, like Arthur's talent. Yeah. Common error people make is placing the apostrophe in the wrong place. For instance, he cleaned the horse's stable. The apostrophe comes after the S. That means there are many horses in that stable. If the apostrophe comes before the S, he cleaned the horse's stable, it means just one horse is in that stable. The stewardess saved many of the passengers' apostrophe S or passengers' S apostrophe lives. Which is the correct word here? Because the possessive passengers is modifying many lives, you know it's a plural, so the apostrophe should come after the S. Now, try one more for me. Careful, this one is tricky. We packed all the children's apostrophe S or children's S apostrophe lunches. In this case, we would place the apostrophe before the S because the word children is already in the plural. When the plural does not end in S, you add apostrophe S. I hope you're beginning to master the use of adverbs and adjectives. Come in. Hi, Sonia.
This review is unfair, impossible, and I'm going to fix it.
Oh, my. Well, come on in here. Settle down now. What do you want to say? Let's get your ideas down.
All right. Well, first of all, my solo parts were performed more better. I have
No,
skill.
Sonia, not performed more, better. Performed better.
Huh? Sonia's solo parts were performed... What's a good word to describe how I performed?
Well, you said you had skill. How about were performed skillfully?
Skillfully. Good. Now, her notes were sharp and clear. The audience seemed real satisfied.
Very satisfied, Sonia.
Oh, very satisfied.
How do you know they were satisfied?
Well, because much hands clapped.
Many hands.
As many hands clapped. Yes, they approved.
As many hands clapped approvingly.
Ah, approvingly.
Did they want more? Did you do an encore?
No. But it was all so very thrilling, exciting, fantastic, more brilliant, most wonderful.
As I said, she's rarely at a loss for modifiers. They express just how colorful and lively life is.
Local funding for GED on TV has been provided through a grant